of all, thank you very much for being here, because my story is a little different from the previous two stories because it involves all of you. So it's a story where you are all involved. And so if you look at this picture of the earth, so there are many ways to describe the earth, but just try to remember a simple math which says we are over 7 billion people who are living on this earth. Now, numbers like 7 billion very often mean nothing because all it means is 7 followed by 9 zeros. But what each one of you will have to remember is, so this is how you describe 7 billion people. If you can imagine, you take the entire history of the earth, so 4 billion years the earth has been around, and then you take the 200,000 years that human beings have been around. If you take the entire history of the earth, 1 out of every 2 human beings ever born in the history of the earth is still alive today. So that's what 7 billion people means. 1 out of every 2 human beings ever born in the history of the world is alive today. Now, what we really have to understand, and I hope get to the next picture, is that, when we went into a transition to become a republic, so we thought, we got rid of the king. Well, we live in a world where we have 7 billion consumers, and consumer is king. Right? So we have all these consumers who have all become kings, and basically they go into every shop, every market, and they buy and they purchase and they throw things to a point where we really have a serious problem to tackle. So my story is about how each one of us can get engaged, but at a scale where it really can make a difference. Okay? So 7 billion consumers behaving like kings or queens. How do we deal with this major problem that we have around us? So this is a story within a story. So once upon a time there was a king, and the king wanted to make a milk pond. Now you wonder, why are kings gone? Maybe because they made very foolish decisions. And so one of those foolish decisions was to make a milk pond. So he said, I want a milk pond. So of course the people around him said, that's a great idea. So the people went into the streets and they said, everybody now has to come with a bucket of milk and put it into the pond so that the king can have his milk pond. So everybody thought it was going to happen, but guess what happened? Early in the morning the next day, the king went to see his milk pond, and guess what? Not a single drop of milk, it was full of water. Because 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, every citizen woke up and said, I take care of my buffalo, I feed it, why should I put my milk in that pond? But then they thought, if I wake up early at 3, when nobody can see me, and I take 1 bucket of water and put it into the milk pond, what difference will it make? Because it's going to be a pond full of milk. And so you can already guess, right? The story would say that when the king came to see his pond, not a single drop of milk, it was full of water. Because everybody thought the same thing. So the first lesson that we must have in scaling our ideas is, please do not tell people to make a milk pond. Because people will simply not participate in something as ridiculous, as that, okay? Now the second story that we have to understand is that these kings also were very fond of making clock towers. So they amazing, clock towers, not just in Nepal, but all over the world. And there is a very simple reason for building a clock tower. It is basically to say, I know the time, you follow it. Okay, so everybody has to follow the clock tower. And so in the middle of a village, in the middle of a city, there's a nice tower and everybody follows it. So take a very simple example of plastic bags on our streets. Okay? So how will the clock tower behave when you want to get rid of plastic bags? So let's take Singapore as an example. The way Singapore behaves as a clock tower is basically says, from tomorrow, no plastic bags. End of the story. So do you know why Singapore is a fine city? Because there's a fine for everything. And Singapore is a clock tower. So they can do it in Singapore. So you know how Italy banned plastic bags. They said, when children play with each other, they might put a bag over somebody, other child, and they might suffocate to death. So they use this to ban plastic bags. In India, very interestingly, they said rice can only be packed in jute bags. And so there are ways where clock towers try to solve these problems. Now, each one of us Nepalese, we know that Nepal cannot be ruled with a clock tower. Okay? Because some smart guy, sometime in history, thought for a country like Nepal, clock towers are not going to work. And guess what they did? They invented watches. Okay? Now, look at this watch. So, this watch looks very simple, but it's not. It's a symbol for the fact that sometime back in history, somebody even thought that we can democratize time. Even time had to be democratized. Because everybody wanted to know their own time. They wanted to be wherever they wanted to be, and they wanted to get there when they wanted to go. Eh? And this sounds like a Nepali society. Right? So now, if you don't believe me, look at the Apple Watch, which is coming out in a few months. So even Apple knows that the best way to make money is to make a watch. Otherwise, we should have an Apple clock tower. Eh? So even Apple is going in the watch direction. Now, when you have a watch, what is very important is that it requires a certain discipline. It requires that every watch wearer takes responsibility. And that model is probably the model that we should use for solving all of Nepal's problems, because if you want to get rid of plastic bags, so you don't only need kings, but you also need beauty queens. Eh? But now, I want you to understand, the basic philosophy. So you have Sadhya there selling, would you like to buy a cloth bag? And I don't know, for whatever reason, people seem to buy them. Right? But now let's understand the business model of trying to replace plastic bags from Bhat Pateni. Now, why Bhat Pateni? So just try to imagine, if you have an idea, the first thing you have to think is, how am I going to distribute it? So can you imagine how many transactions Bhat Pateni has in a year? Believe it or not, 6.5 million transactions. So if you're going to distribute something in Kathmandu, where is the first place you should go? You should go to Min Bahadur Gurung, because he has the biggest distribution. Right? Now, secondly, you go to young girls who are looking for gainful employment, or they get trafficked, they get abused, and so they're looking for a job. Right? Now, the third is, think of our poor chief secretary, who every Saturday is missing his family and going and collecting plastic in the Bagmati River. I think the chief secretary should be doing something more important than picking plastic. Right? Now let's combine, these three things, and you say Min Bahadur has the distribution, Lilamani Paudel needs to do something more important, and there are lots of women who need a job. Right? So when you combine these three things, it is very easy to come up with a business plan to replace plastic bags with cloth bags. Now let's do the numbers. So the cloth bags are being sold for 30 rupees each. What does that mean? It means it covers half of the cost of running a very successful or a profitable business of making cloth bags. How does it work? 30 rupees comes from the volunteer, client, consumer, who is willing to pay for the cloth bag, 30 rupees. But the other 30 rupees, very interestingly, comes from the polluter who is willing to pay. So what is the polluter pay principle? If you buy a plastic bag in Bhat Pateni, they will say 1 rupee for the bag. So which means 20 rupees comes from the polluter, but 50 paisa comes from Bhat Pateni, because they have saved a huge amount of money in buying plastic bags. So 1 rupee 50 paisa from the polluter, 30 rupees from the cloth bag, and 60 rupees is enough to make a nice cooperative where women can get employed making cloth bags. So this model is what we have to understand, where a lot of things have to come together in order to make a successful business model. So the numbers have to make sense, the distribution has to make sense, the product has to make sense, and when all of it comes together, pretty soon we exhausted Bhat Pateni, and now this idea has been expanded to 4 other supermarket chains. Okay? So this is how very quickly, without any subsidy, without any support, it can be done quite easily. Now what I need you to understand is, why is an idea like this very important? And so you see the picture of Gandhi. And so just to continue the story of kings. So Gandhi in 1945 went to see the King of England. and this was to negotiate the independence of India. So he went to England, dressed in his dhoti, and somebody in the Buckingham Palace said, "You cannot see the king, dressed like that." But he's a very adamant old man, very jitiwal. And so he said, "This is how I'm going to see the king." So he went in and he saw the King of England. And when he came out of Buckingham Palace, many people asked him, "How did you feel seeing the King of England dressed like this?" And he's a very witty man. And he said, "The King of England was wearing enough for both of us." Right? Now, the point of the story is, if you think of our planet, for the British to live a certain lifestyle that they lived in 1945, they had to basically colonize 44 countries. And so they could live that life because they were looting resources from 44 different countries. So if you imagine today in 2014, if every human being was to live like a British, how many planets will we need? So how many Earths will we need? And so if you ask these very fundamental questions, then it also helps you to come up with very fundamental solutions that are very simple, that are very replicable, and also can go to scale very quickly. So just to continue this little story, look at this. Right? So a lot of Nepalese, we believe in hard work. Okay, mehnat garnu parcha, hard work. So I think we need to change the paradigm and say hard work is not good enough. We need to work smart. So we need to work smart. And so you can see the old crow and the new crow, where the new crow is working in a smart manner. Right? So each one of us in this audience, we are smart. We can come up with smart solutions. If each one of us comes up with a smart solution, we can create smart communities. And if there are enough smart communities in Nepal, then we will have a smart Nepal. This is what we also look for, is a smart country that does things very strategically, that does something, can be replicated very quickly, and goes from each house to household, and in a very cost-effective manner. Now, this is very important. I don't know how many of you are thinkers, but we meet a lot of them. Right? And so if you think of the thinker, I think every problem that Nepal faces has been thought of and thought of and thought of. So much thinking has gone in. And then ultimately what they tend to do is make plans. And then when we have too many plans, we make master plans. Right? And then when we have too many master plans, all we need today is a headmaster plan. Right? But it doesn't go into action. Right? So I think anybody in the audience who thinks, I've thought of these things enough, I now need to do something. And so what we really need is a society of doers, and all of us can chip in to say what is a really good business plan that can go up to scale. Okay? Now the last slide is what I want you to leave with. Okay? So in the lobby, as we step into the street, just think about this. Okay? So the only difference, I think, is we all know, we don't do. Right? And so if we can all commit ourselves to say, I know many things, but from today I'm actually going to start doing it because I believe in it, I think the change that we all seek is very possible. And so whether you are lighting homes with solar lamps, whether you're providing simple chlorine for the schools in rural Nepal, or you're doing something very sophisticated, I think all of it requires that a degree of thought is provided. And so these are very simple stories, but each story helps us to bring things together. So I'm going to end with a small story which I'm very fond of telling. And so this is the story of Napoleon. And so Napoleon was this great general who conquered almost all of Europe. And so one day he was marching in Paris, and so he had his soldiers marching through Paris. And so there was a general standing next to Napoleon, and he told his general how nice it would have been if the soldiers could also march in the shade. So if there were trees and if there was shade, it would be so nice for the generals to march in the shade. So the general sitting next to him basically says, even if he planted the trees today, then it would take 20 years for the trees to grow. So, it's not worth it. 20 years it would take to grow. So out of this little conversation, Napoleon articulated a very simple management principle, which each one of us should remember. And the management principle is that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today. Okay? And I think for Nepalese, who have lost 20 years of their life just struggling and working and talking. So I think it is time for us to internalize the fact that the best time to do these things was 20 years ago, but the next best time to do this is today and now. Thank you very much. Thank you.